Time for an update. A soccer down here 1v1. And for this one, we actually go to the Marshall Islands themselves. And a man who has racked up so many miles on his frequent flyer plan, it's not even funny, Justin Walley, who is press and comms director for the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, flying around the planet. And he's doing some coaching and he's doing some lining things up. How are you and what time zone are you in?
Well, good morning. Good morning from Majuro. It is, I believe, it's 8:35 or 8:40, but it's hard. It's hard keeping up. Most of the communication I do is early morning or late evening, with mostly with Europe. But so my mind's in several places, and of course North America as well. There's lots of communication going on. Occasionally with Australia. Last week I was in Hawaii, quite a few hours behind, and now I'm in the future,
Yeah,
so it's very confusing.
if you could let us know what's happening 17 hours ahead, that'd be great, and maybe it could help us out with trying to figure things out for the next day as we go.
Exactly, it would be good to place a few bets on a few things, wouldn't it?
Some Back to the Future, some Back to the Future with Biff Tannen would be fantastic. Right
There
now,
is a rusting DeLorean outside, so maybe I could try to use that.
absolutely. So how has the trip been? I have seen you orchestrating goals and having basketball goals be a part of this whole process, and once again expanding what's going on with soccer there at the Marshall Islands. What have you been up to?
We Yeah, we've got a lot of different things sort of scheduled and planned, but there's a lot of organic stuff goes on. Meetings that weren't planned, which were really positive. So I sort of met up with a few PE teachers and had a bit of a brainstorm, unintentionally. It was really good. But I've been into a couple of schools. I've met sports ministry people, the vice president of the federation here. We had a sit down, a bit of time with the volunteers here, because without those people, nothing will be happening. Let's be honest. I did do my first coaching session on Saturday, which I think went well. Would be interesting to hear the off the record feedback from the players, but I think it was a good session. I kicked their arse, if I'm allowed to say that, shall I say, because they are quite laid back bunch, and I was quite keen to install a bit of discipline and to push them a little bit. So I think it went well. Yeah, we set up. You've seen from the pictures, we set up futsal on a basketball court with our own portable goalposts. But needs must.
When it comes to what you've been able to be a part of from, I guess, day one when you were active in this process and brought on to bring the Soccer Federation online and bring in players and introduce the Marshall Islands to the international scene, what's this ride been like for you to be globetrotting and coaching and, planting some boots and butts and those kinds of things? What's it been like for you?
Well, I got involved almost exactly a year ago. We launched our socials around this time last year. I mean, my participation probably began in December of the previous year, but you could call it a year or so. We've been overwhelmed really with the response. We've got, I don't know, around 7,000 followers on Twitter with the big engagement. This was really key with that. Instagram's already up in 2,500 or something. Again, good engagement. Lots of media. We've been on the likes of the BBC and Sky and things like that. Personally speaking, I didn't imagine for one moment 12 months later I'd be out here. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I'd ever step foot here because the priority was to get Lloyd, our technical director, over. He came last, I think it was July, and it's obviously very expensive to get here. The airfares coming out of Los Angeles to Hawaii and then to here are are extortionate. Actually, you can see how it limits development because people will struggle to get off the islands here actually for how much it costs. But I never expected to be here, and I've come over, yeah, to coach. I am a qualified, experienced coach. I've worked on projects like this before. I was working with Matabele land in Zimbabwe, for example. I've worked in Sierra Leone in quite basic conditions. Um, so yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to have lots of meetings. I'm trying to help sort of reboot things, to use a bit of a pun, with the coaching. We've got a big cup competition coming up, the Ratak Cup. That's on Saturday of this week and the following Saturday, and that will be our first ever domestic competition. We'll have a champion. We'll have top scorer, player of the tournament, that kind of thing. So that's a really big one, and we're hoping that that will create the passion for competition as well as more interest in futsal and of course football.
When it comes to timelines and expectations and all those kinds of things, I know that there's always that idea of, okay, we've got to have a team by this competition and they've got to be ready and they've got to be ready to go, and Oceania and all these stages and steps. I don't want to put a timetable on it, but where do you think things are? I know that futsal is a good jumping off point to get things going from futsal to football, and then in competitions. Where do you think this process is in its growth?
A key thing for us is getting football or futsal. It's either or both, or a hybrid version. I think you could call it almost a Marshallese version. But the key thing is getting into schools, getting into PE, because that's where the real development of the sport or the sports are going to take place, on these islands, and with Majuro leading. So that's a big priority. That's starting to happen. I'm going to be visiting a few schools, and doing some guest sessions in PE. So that's essential. It's not going to happen. It's not the development's not really going to happen and be sustained unless we do that. So that's a big priority, is getting young kids interested and playing and having a passion for the sport. And it's interesting to hear, but I am, you know, getting people telling me that young kids are interested. They do look up to your Messis and Ronaldos of this world. Those role models do exist here. When you get up to 15 years old, it's mostly basketball, baseball, and there's a reality that you're not. It would be like me changing from soccer to basketball. It's not going to happen, at my age. I can have an interest in basketball, but I'm certainly not going to jump ship. So that's a priority, and that's starting to take shape. We have got we had a regular sort of futsal league, which we've had a bit of a break with. We've got this cup competition. So we're headed in that direction. In terms of 11 aside, it's a big question about facilities. We don't have the pitches. We do have the National Track and Field Stadium, which is still being built, which is almost finished. I've just been down to have a look. So we're hoping to be able to play there. There's a lovely new indoor facility that's opening in a few weeks' time here as well on the islands. So that's another great one. But yeah, getting 11-side football, that's going to be tougher, but it's going to happen, and we hope it's going to happen this year. We're hoping we're going to play our first national team game this year, well, in futsal and in football, soccer. Sorry. So we have targets. We have to have targets, but there is flexibility in those targets. But that's not a sort of a lazy flexibility. That's the flexibility that's required. But we are targeting our first games this year.
In your time in football, I've seen what you've been able to do. And when it comes to being front office or coach or organizer or administrator, we all have those different kinds of personalities. And in seeing what you and all the other guys that we've been having conversations with as this has continued to grow, I look at you guys and I see personalities of being builders and leaving legacies and these kinds of things. Have you always been a builder, considering that you've started franchises from scratch in other countries? Have you always been a builder?
Um, Certainly, if I ever speak about working with Matt and Lloyd, they've been phenomenal. And you know, in all honesty, they've done a lot more work than me. They're putting a lot more hours, and it's actually quite nice because I'm not used to that. I'm used to kind of being you know, at the forefront in terms of hours put in, perhaps, or certainly, you know, equivalent to other people. So they've been phenomenal. Personally speaking, yeah, I think for me, a lot of this came out of the football club that I helped co-found in Latvia called Riga United, which was created organically, and then became a league club, a community club. We ended up with National League men's teams, women's teams, football academy. We had no budget as such. Most of the stuff we succeeded in doing was just from hard work and networking and using social media. And I suppose the highlight of that was our women's team finished bronze medalists in the National Premier League, and we had the women's player of the season for Latvia and a handful of international players. So I think from that you understand anything is possible. Anything is possible, really, if you have the passion, the vision, and put in the hard work. I've subsequently been involved in other things. I went out to Zimbabwe and I helped with Matabeleland, and we took them to the Connie for World Cup in London against all odds. We had to raise a lot of money. We had to jump over a lot of hurdles, politically, geopolitically, all kinds of stuff. But we achieved that, and we got international recognition as well. Again, we were all over the likes of Deutsche Welle, CNN. CNN made a documentary about us. So it's kind of accidentally become a second nature for me, I guess. I would love to be involved with a project like this. I actually get paid for rather than doing it on a voluntary basis. But there is it's lovely to succeed in these things and see development and what it brings to people. You know, if you talk about the Marshall Islands, there is an obesity and diabetes issue here, and I think by having more people physically active, that's going to make a big difference. It's in the middle of, well, you could say it's in the middle of everywhere or it's in the middle of nowhere, but it can give aspirations to people to believe. I certainly saw that in Africa, where people start to believe that they can achieve, and whether that's be a professional footballer or just achieve things in life, you know. So those are the things that motivate me. I love the art of it. That's what I tend to say. I love the art of it. I love to see something succeeding. And I'm fortunate that I'm working with Lloyd and Matt, who seem to share a similar passion. And then, of course, we've got all the people. I talk mostly of those two gentlemen, but you know, on the ground here, John, for example, who's leading so many. He's the general secretary now of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, but I was with him the other day, and he drove up to the north of the island. He picked people up. It was a good 1 hour and 15-minute drive. He drove them all the way down to training, picked up people on the way, set up the goalposts, picked up water and ice, cones and bibs, did the session, dropped people around locally, drove again up to the top of the island, all the way back down. Unbelievable. 3.5 hours of driving. without him, without people like that, these things don't happen. So I can tell you about my involvement, but there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people are helping us. There's a lot of people donating, buying the shirt, etc., etc. Good people like yourself who are helping us in lots of different ways and spreading the word. So yeah, you can't do these things unless there's lots of other people as well.
Justin Walley, who's wearing about 98 different hats right now involving the Marshall Island Soccer Federation. He is there in Majuro because around the corner on the 27th and the 3rd of February, local time, it is the Raytac Cup, and it's presented by Trasfertazine. They are the presenting sponsor. That is now dialed up as well. The Raytac Cup, the nation's first ever futsal cup, and it's great to see. And for those that don't have the chance, you need to follow you on the 280 character app at Justin Walley, like the movie, except there's like Valley with a W. Justin Walley and the number 10 on the 280 character app, and all the things going on with the Federation, Soccer Fed MI, all those different kinds of places. Thank you for getting up, I guess, early in the morning and hanging out with us and letting us know the latest. How can folks keep an eye on things? Otherwise, what else do they need to know before I knock on your door again and find out what's going on?
Yeah, this is said. There's the Twitter socials as well as mine. There's the Soccer Fed MI, which you just mentioned as well. So they just if you have a little Twitter search, you'll find the Soccer Federation. We've got a website, so again, just do a quick Google search, you'll find it rather than me spelling it out. That's got lots of stuff on there, lots of history on there, and there's also the shop where you can buy the national team jersey, which we've used to finance my flights out here, my Esther and my accommodation, and all kinds of things. So that's vital for us. We sell those shirts, and that enables us to do things because we don't have soccer body funding at the moment. We hope that will happen in the future, and that would obviously be a complete game changer. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. So have a look for those things, and you'll find lots of information about what's going on. There's some good engagement. I think we put up some really nice content as well. So it's I think our content's a bit more interesting than your average soccer federation. So I think it's worth following anyway. And that I'm trying to post some stuff from here in the Marshall Islands just to educate people a little bit about how life is here as well and what it looks like. So yeah, please follow us wherever you can.
You get to see a man who is sampling milk out of a coconut, like fresh out off the tree.
Now I didn't. You could see from that video, I wasn't faking that. That was, when you see cooking programs and they always pretend they like it. I think you could see from that video, I'm either an amazing actor or it was genuinely amazing.
Very, very cool stuff. Justin, if it's okay with you, after the cup is complete, we'd like to catch up with you again, find out how it was, and continue to tell the stories as we all work forward here as we keep an eye on the Marshall Island Soccer Federation. Justin,
please do. Yeah, 100%. Please do.
Be safe, be well, my friend, and enjoy the cup. We'll catch up with you soon. And once again, thanks for the build and thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you very much.